Hey, it's Mike Brennan. We're back with another edition of MITech TV and some of the usual suspects on the show today, starting off with one of my business partners, Melih Oztalay, who is with the CEO of SmartFinds Marketing in Birmingham, although he appears to be their full-time European correspondent here or something. So he's coming to us from Istanbul, Turkey, but the rest of his team are in Birmingham. So anyway, what we want to talk about today is just the end of the year, obviously, a couple more weeks. And what can you do if you run an e-commerce site? And Melih's done a lot of work in this area, conversion rate optimization. Now, that's a term that we're all familiar with, Melih, but they may not be. So why don't you go ahead and tell us all about that?
So let me start by mentioning that I'm going to focus on B2C today. I'm not going to focus on B2B. Not to say that the concept is similar in both directions, but I think what we want to focus on when we talk about e-commerce sites and sales, we want to focus, I think it's easier from a conceptual standpoint to talk about B2C. And so Jackson, I'm going to be, my conversation is a little more in that direction. And I'm also not going to talk about driving traffic to the website. Let's just assume that the e-commerce website is doing what they need to do, whether it's advertising, whether or not they started the SEO process months ago and organic marketing months ago with blogs and so on and so forth. They're getting traffic to the website. Now the question is, once they get the traffic, what do we do with the website visitors? And this is what I want to focus in on is conversion rate optimization, or just short CRO. And that's kind of the discussion we're going to have today. How do we convert the website visitors? You can find a lot of things online about lead generation. You can find a lot of things about, hey, I'm going to generate leads for you on Facebook, or I'm going to generate leads for you on LinkedIn, or whatever the scenario might look like. But this is about generating your sales directly off your website from the existing website traffic. That's the concept. Any questions?
Matt?
Well, just wondering, obviously the trick is how you do that. But talk a little bit. I know you talked about making changes to the web pages that generate more sales. So why don't you give us your top 4 or 5 suggestions for doing that, for the changes that you can make to an existing website?
Right. So from a 50,000-foot view, we're going to talk about changing layout. We're going to talk about changing color. We're going to talk about changing graphics and or photos. And more importantly, at the end of the day, what we call calls to action, your CTA. And I might use the word CTA frequently as I'm sitting here talking. But your calls to actions are going to be important. That's where you're telling the website visitor, this is what I want you to do. That's what you're saying. I want to grab your attention with this item. And whatever item is it could be a discount. It could be a product. It could be, hey, click here and buy this or get a discount. Whatever that looks like, that's what we're going to focus on when we talk about CTAs. Now, in all of this process, your starting point is going to be Google Analytics. You're going to go to Google Analytics, and down the left side, you're going to go down to the behavior section, which identifies how website visitors are interacting with your web pages. And that's where you're going to look at, for example, what are the top 10 pages that people go to? Are those the pages that you want people to go to, first of all? Because if they're going off in different directions that are not going to generate sales, then that might not be, you're going to find out real quickly that your website is driving people in an area that you don't want. The next thing that you want to do, let's take a look at, let's figure out that you have 5 or 10 major pages that you want people to go to that are going to generate a sale. Look at what, and I realize I'm going to keep this real simple, but look at what the bounce rate is of those individual pages. And what does the bounce rate mean? It means that people are coming to the page, and from there, they're not doing anything further, and they're leaving the website or moving on to another page, which means that that's not what you want. That's the concept of the bounce rate. It's going to give you some direction on whether or not people are engaging with your web page. And more importantly, that in turn is going to determine whether or not you're going to get your sales. So one of the questions going to come out is, well, what should my bounce rate be? And I will tell you that it should be less than 30%. If you're hovering at 40, 50, 60, 80%, obviously you have a problem on that web page and you need to change it.
Well, what would you
Make
advise
sense?
that if you have a huge bounce rate, then what would be one of the things that you need to do to minimize that, I guess?
Well, good question, Mike. So let's start with this. I would, depending upon your website's platform, but I know in WordPress, you can download a plugin when we have no affiliation with this while I'm mentioning the product. It's a product that I know that works. That's the only reason I'm mentioning. It's called Nelio, and they have an A/B testing plugin. Put that into your WordPress website and create a B version of the page that has this high bounce rate. And in your B version, do something dramatic, right? Change the colors, change your CTAs, change the layout, the photos, change a lot. And then give it a few days and take a look and see whether or not that B version is doing what you want it to do, which is to improve on what's on the A version. And so these A/B testing tools that are on the market, I would certainly recommend them, especially if your bounce rate is really high. You need to understand why and what things might be working or not working in order to make your bounce rate come down.
Pat?
All right. What about, what things should be highlighted on a page? What do you think the most effective calls to action are?
Right. So you're going to, first of all, you're going to want a product on there, and you're going to, you might want to have a photo that says, hey, this was $50 and now it's 25, right? Or 30 or whatever that number's going to look like. So that is a call to action. You're driving people from a page directly to a sales direction. Other thing that might want to do is, hey, I have this sale in 2 days, right? Come back to my website and get a hold of our sales in 2 days. And that's a good thing, because now you've got repeat visitors, and believe it or not, Google's tracking repeat traffic to your website as well. So, and something I didn't mention, I apologize. Google does track, monitor your bounce rate. If it's too high, Google's algorithm is saying, well, why should I drive people to a web page? Now, I'm not going to say a website, a web page where the bounce rate's high. And so what Google does in those scenarios is they put you further down on the list, especially if there are web pages that meet the search criteria and have a lower bounce rate. So these are the types of things that we have to keep in mind. And so anything we can do to reduce the bounce rate is going to help us with Google, especially with our rankings. Subsequent to that, what we want to do is drive people with discounts, with sales, with product information. These are the types of, sales and discounts are your secondary call to actions. Obviously, what you're trying to do is go from sales to discounts to the sale. So, here's where I got my reductions. These are where you can get discounts, or maybe sign up for our discount newsletter, and we'll keep you in touch when we have reductions, that type of thing. These are the types of things that are going to help facilitate conversion rate optimization based on your call to actions.
Now, this probably isn't a good example, but it's one that I get a lot. Is Matt is the editor of Technology Technology Century. I can do it. That for the Engineering Society of Detroit, and what they do. This is a news site, but every time a fresh story goes up, if you're signed up, you get an alert saying here's the story on Technology Century. Now, again, this is a news site, but I mean, in the sense of, would that be something that, say, a e-commerce B2B player would want to do if they put up a new offer or something? They'd want to blast it out to their email list or something like that?
Yeah, I agree. Using your email marketing as a means to generate interest in your sales, your discounts, no doubt. I think that is something you do in conjunction with your social media marketing. So you're going to post that same type of activity on your Instagram, on your Facebook, if it makes sense, on TikTok, etc. These are the types of things that you want to focus in on. But what's interesting in this process is be careful of the text copy that you use. So what I'm saying is you want to do the text copy like buy now, right? You want to use the text copy, get your discount. If it makes sense, you could say sign up here to get a 50% discount, or schedule your X, Y, and Z. Essentially what you're doing is your call to action text copy has to be verbs that are going to grab people's attention and say, yep, this is the path I want to go, so I can purchase this, or I can take advantage of a discount. And so the text copy or CTAs is important, and certainly it's going to help facilitate this process when it comes to generating more sales.
Matt?
Okay, so you say in your notes here that color can make a big difference in terms of how effective a call to action is. Talk about that a little bit, and what does a company do if their natural color is not red? Because that seems to be the most effective.
Great. I know. HubSpot did a test some time ago and found that between the color green and red received 21% more activity than the color green. And that's very interesting. And this goes back to the psychology of colors. And believe me, there are a couple of very good articles online that discuss psychology of colors, which I would suggest any business website owner take a look at, because that's going to help drive whether or not your colors are going to get the attention that you want. Now, granted, in HubSpot's case, they ended up testing red and green. Obviously, that doesn't work for all businesses, and I get that, and that's not a problem. But I think what we want to learn from this test is the fact that colors make a difference when it comes to your call to actions. The other part that's very interesting is that the location of your call to action makes a difference. In other words, is it left? Is it right? Is it smack dab in the center? Is it big? Is it small in conjunction with its location? You might want to have, when I talk about location, it's not just left and right, but we're also talking top, middle, bottom. So you might need to have your call to action in 3 different sections on that web page, along with the product that you're trying to sell, for example. And so, calls to actions are not limited to the 1 or 2. Call to actions can be multiple types of call to actions on a page. So yes, you're focusing on the sale, but if the client doesn't want, the website visitor doesn't want the sale, but they'd rather say, hey, I'm willing to sign up for future discounts. Well, that's a call to action, right? Get them to sign up for a newsletter that just gives them the discounts. Focus on your call to actions. I think that's the biggest item that I can recommend to any e-commerce website.
All right. Finally, we got about a minute or so left. There's been a lot of talk about where having sticky content on sites gets a better conversion rate, or at least when you draw more people to the website. Do you believe that's the case?
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about, I'm gonna throw the question back at you. When we talk about sticky content, I mean, there's a lot of things that fall into the category of sticky content, and I don't, I think sticky content is another form of a CTA, right? It's another type of call to action. I think the idea of, for example, and I'm just throwing out some ideas. So you could turn around and use chat, right? Chat is a big item nowadays. People don't want to call. People don't want to email. They want to chat with you, and they want an answer right there while they're on the website, right? I mean, theoretically, that's a version of sticky content, right? What you're trying to do when we talk about sticky content is keep people on the page. keep them engaged with you, keep them engaged with the website, have them make sure that they can go to other pages. That's what's when these all are forms of call to actions at the end of the day.
All right. Well, we're coming down to the end of the show. So how could folks reach out to you to get more information?
Well, first of all, always great to be with you guys and enjoy being on your show. We've done this multiple times on various topics. I am the CEO of SmartFinds Marketing. We're based in Birmingham, Michigan. We are a 34-year-old award-winning digital marketing agency. Our website is at smartfindsmarketing.com. And certainly you can look me up on LinkedIn because that's where you're going to find me the most.
Yeah.